We're back here on the John Fourcade Show, and one of our John Fourcade specials this week, all 2015 F-150 XLTs in stock, $11,000 on total savings. Again, all 2015 F-150 XLTs in stock, $11,000 off on total savings. Come on, man. Come on down to Veterans Ford. Welcome back to the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford. Mike Detillier along with John Fourcade. John, AFC Championship game, and man, if there was co-MVPs in that game, it was DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. They changed everything in that football game, 20-18. But the one big difference, and we'll talk a lot more about it, the missed extra point. You kept chasing that 1 point throughout the football game. Only 48 yards passing for Peyton Manning in the second half. But Von Miller, 2.5 sacks, an interception, third down conversions, 2 for 15 for the Patriots. When you see that stat, how did this game stay so close?
I was shocked when I watched this game, and I did get a chance to watch the whole thing. And I'll say this, Mike, where were the adjustments being made from Josh McDaniels?
That was a poorly coached
And I'll say
game
this
on
much,
his
for
part.
all the people out there who were diehard Josh McDaniels, man, you better go back to the drawing board. You must make adjustments and changes. That's one thing they didn't do. The defense for the Patriots kept them in the football game, because I thought the Patriots defense played pretty good football game, other than Tom Brady turned the ball over inside his red zone and gave a short field to drive on the score. But overall, you got to give you credit with defense for the Denver Broncos. They brought pressure. Those guys played well enough. Even though the Patriots had a chance to tie it up and take it to overtime, it didn't happen. It was a game that I enjoyed watching. It was a lot of things in that football game, but like you said, how can you have the New England Patriots, 2 of 15? What shocked me was, Mike, and I don't know if people know this stats, they attempted 19 times throwing the football to the running back coming out of the backfield, maybe lining them up outside, taking them out there. There were 7 of 19 incompletions. That ain't gonna win football games. Trying to throw it to a 5'6", 5'7" running back coming out of the backfield, up the field. It's different, out the flat, but this was up the field. That was a key point in my game. Nowhere near Brendan LaFleur. Where was he at in the game? So it was a good football game to watch. I tell you what, New England, you better go back to the drawing board. They already fired the O-line coach, but I'd rather look at Josh McDaniels and say, son, that's horrible play calling.
One of the things in this game and how it affects anybody getting hit. And Tom Brady was hit 20 times in this game. The record for hits in a championship game was 14 before that. And what it does to affect you as a quarterback, you being a quarterback, even though you're not getting hit, if you hit that many times before, you almost feel pressure that's not even there. And I thought sometimes with Brady on the throws out in the flat to the running backs, he was a little long. He was trying to get rid of that football because he felt pressure even when he didn't get it from DeMarcus Ware and Von Miller. I thought that was the story of this game. Also, too, what a great job what Wade Phillips did, who has been a man cover guy. You saw a lot of zone concepts. You saw bracketing, cornering. He did a lot of different things in that game I hadn't seen that Bronco defense do all season long.
You brought up first, we were talking about Brady. I watched it, and I complained the whole game about his feet work. He was never once set, ready to throw the football where you step into the football. He already had his feet spread out trying to throw the ball. How many passes that Tom Brady threw in this football game? He threw 56 of them, and he was under 50% completion. But 56 passes, how many he threw that were 4 yards short, 3 yards short, nowhere near the receiver, because he had no feet under him. Because you're right, Mike, he was scared enough, the fact that he didn't know where they were coming from. They were going to hit him. They were around him. He had pressure, and that really made him play the worst game I've seen him play in a long time. Granted, 300-something yards passing, but that's stats are not really
irrelevant.
That's it. I'm always stats are in for losers. But I'll look at it this way: Denver Broncos, the way Wade Phillips made some changes, and then the play that he made where Von Miller made the interception, lined up over the tight end, made him think he was rushing, going to get chipped by the tight end, which he did chip him, and then he drops in a passing game, and Tom Brady throws the ball right to him. Perfect pass. Only problem was Miller plays the other team.
It was to the wrong guy.
Right.
One of the things, too, is, man, and I give him his props, because a lot of people, Rob Gronkowski, I know he was hurt in this football game, but, man, when you needed a big play, didn't he come up for it? Not once, but twice and 3 times. Big play after big play. And if I'm the Panthers, one of the things I see is I got a tight end. He's not as tall as Gronkowski, but he's every bit as athletic in Greg Olsen. I'm going to see that on film.
Oh, there's no doubt if Cam Newton don't use his tight end Olsen, which he will make the effort to get into it. But overall, going into the Super Bowl, we shall see what these guys do. But that was one heck of an AFC game, 20-18. You couldn't ask for a more exciting game.
Highest rated AFC championship game in 29 years. You got to go back to Ernest Biner and the fumble when the last time you had ratings. That was unbelievable. NFC championship game, John, it really was no contest. Man, they jumped all over them, 49-15. 7 turnovers by the Cardinals in this football game. Cam Newton accounted for 382 yards total offense, 2 pass for touchdowns, 2 rushes for touchdowns. Man, what more can we say about Luke Kuechly? I'm not sure, other than Cam Newton, he's not the best player out on that football field. And what he's been able to do, I think the best linebacker in pro football today, certainly in the middle spot. And Luke Kuechly, not only can he play to run well, but also his drop back in coverage. I think the underrated part of Carolina's defense, and I said this the last couple of weeks, is what they got in the middle. Quan Short, Star Latule, man, they blow up the inside. Carson Palmer, he couldn't step into anything because that guy is right, or one of those 2 guys are right in his face. Turnovers, a big key in this game. But the Cardinals look shell-shocked in this football game. A lot of turnovers, just not playing well, a lot of drop passes. And I think Carolina's defense intimidated them. And I think you could almost like a smell. They had that odor real quick, and they never got into this game one bit.
Well, my take on this game was prior to this football game, weeks ago, you thought the 2 best teams in football that could beat Carolina was Seattle, and then you thought Arizona. But as Arizona played this year, I go back to when they played Minnesota and Cincinnati at home. Carolina barely won those football games. Granted, they smoked Green Bay one week and then come back and barely beat them in the playoff game, which was a game where Palmer didn't play very well.
I think he's that finger in that hand.
That's what they're saying. But they're saying it wasn't, but it had to. There was some kind of effect. But when they showed up in Carolina, in the way Carolina did just the same thing they did against Seattle, jumped on them early, got a big lead, and you know Mike as well as I do. When you get 12, 15, 17-point lead, it's hard to catch up. Just look what happened to the Patriots. They were trying to catch up the whole game, being down 12 points. But this game with with Arizona and Carolina was over with before you could say it. And granted, the drop punt by Peterson, and then the play of the defense by Arizona. Where was that at in this week? But I have to say, you got to give the credit to Carolina Panthers. They're on a mission right now, and that's get to the Super Bowl.
I've said this before. They're a team of destiny. They remind me of the makeup, not the team itself, about how they'd win, but the makeup itself, very similar to the 2009 New Orleans Saints. A football team that'll beat you 20-17. If you want to play 45-40, they'll play with you that way. But one thing I got to say, and we've talked about it all season long, about what a great job Carolina has done to adjust without Kelvin Benjamin in the lineup. And man, all this stuff I hear about, man, their receivers aren't that good. All I know is every time Cam Newton throws them the football, there's nobody around them. So somebody's either you playing that poor a defense, which I know Arizona's a pretty good defensive team. They were not a little bit open. They were wide open on every play. Almost Newton would throw the ball downfield.
Mike, if you make an NFL roster, you got to be good enough to be on an NFL roster. And you know as well as I do, teams out there will be able to scout and bring receivers on board. There's no way you can sit there and tell me losing a receiver is going to determine how bad you play, how good you play. They got other guys that stepped up and played. Look, we've said this week in and week out, Ted Ginn Jr. has dropped balls, has made mistakes, but God Almighty, he's made touchdowns. He made plays. And maybe the play of the game was on the interception when he chased him and got him before he scored that touchdown, and that made a big play there. So I don't want to hear people say, they don't have Benjamin. He was only in his second year. Great guys they have as wide receivers to step up and play. You got to give those guys credit. These receivers have stepped up, played, but you got Cam Newton back there making things happen in the backfield, and I think that's the big key to it.
One thing I can say to Saints fans is that when you look at how young this Carolina Panthers team is, now I know everybody wants to get paid, and that breaks up championship-type teams. The Saints got a lot of catching up to do before they in that line to play with the Panthers and beat them out of that NFC South title. You talking about 3 straight years, John? Or would you bet against them that they wouldn't do it 4 years in a row?
No, that's a team to beat in the South. There's no doubt.
There's no question.
They're a step above everybody.
man, they got some talent and a lot of young talent. We talked a little bit about Kelvin Benjamin coming back, Devin Funchess, and those three guys on defense, Star Latoué, Kawan Short, Luke Kuechly, Josh Norman. Man, that's a lot. Saints got a lot of work to do in this offseason. We have a lot more to talk about right here on the John Fourcade Show, sponsored each week by Veterans Ford.